Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Eliza Mahrus Hadi, and the topic of my science fair project is a saltwater fuel cell. I found a very interesting toy that was powered by salt water. At first, I did not think it would work. How could salt generate electricity? But when I tried it, it worked. I thought this could solve a lot of the world's energy problems because the oceans are made of salt water and they are very big. We could get an unlimited amount of energy without polluting the environment. Then I wanted to understand how it worked. I wanted to see if I could make the fuel cell generate more electricity and make the car go faster. Since the car worked by adding a salt solution, I thought by increasing the concentration of salt in the water, I will be able to increase the voltage and amps generated from the fuel cell to make my car go faster. I designed an experiment where I would measure the voltage and amps generated by the fuel cell at different salt solution concentrations. On the right, you can see my experimental setup. This slide shows the materials needed to do the experiment. Some of the key things you need are salt, water, multimeter, and a magnesium plate. First, measure 100 milliliters of tap water into 13 different cups. Label each glass with the percentage of salt that will be added to it. Using a measuring scale, weigh the different amount of salt to be added to each glass. Stir the solution until the salt has dissolved as much as possible. Measure the temperature of the water. Attach the negative lead to the magnesium plate and the positive lead to the cathode. Place the magnesium plate and the cathode into the salt solution and measure your volts and amps. Record your observations. But first I needed to understand how many grams of salt 100 milliliters of water could hold. I did some research and found that approximately 35 grams of salt can be dissolved in 100 milliliters of water at 20 degrees Celsius. This is shown by the graph on the right. I used this information to find the different amounts of salt that I needed to add, where 35 grams equaled 100% concentration. During the experiment, I observed many interesting things. I noted that as the concentration increased, the solution got cloudier. And in the 100% concentration, there was still some undissolved salt at the bottom. And in the 80 and 60% concentration, there was still some undissolved salt, but it was much less than the 100% concentration. And only a few grains were in the 60% concentration. When the magnesium plate was in the salt solution, bubbles were observed coming out of the plate. After the experiment was complete, the magnesium plate was much thinner than before and had small dents on it and was a darker color. There were very few bubbles in the distilled water, and the amount of bubbles increased as the concentration increased. There was a cloudy substance observed in the water after the test was complete in the higher concentration solutions. The data I collected is shown on this table. I made a graph of the results to see if I could find a pattern. To my surprise, the voltage did not change with the concentration. Only small changes were observed. However, the milliamps increased with concentration. From the graph, you can see that the milliamps increased fast in the beginning at the lower concentrations, but then increased very slowly after 25% concentration, making a curved graph. At the start of the experiment, I had predicted that both voltage and amps would increase. However, this was not the case, and only the amps increased with concentration, proving part of my hypothesis to be correct. After 20 to 25% concentration, the benefit of increasing the salt concentration was very little. Based on the results, I would select a concentration in the range of 20 to 25% for my car. Out of curiosity, I increased the temperature of the 20% salt solution by heating it in the microwave to see what would happen. I noticed with the higher temperature, the voltage remained the same, but the milliamps again increased. However, I need to do more tests at different temperatures to be sure. Something else I could try to increase the voltage might be increase the size of the plates and also try to use different types of salts. Jazakumullah. Thank you for listening to my presentation.